Good evening, everyone, and welcome once again to the place to be on a Sunday night where this week we are live and exclusive on Top Split TV for round 7 of the Sunday Night Lights, where this week we are Phoenix International Raceway, the Roval, the road layout, where some of the best Skippy drivers, and we've assembled the best field of Skippy drivers this week with a strength field of just a tick under 4,000, well and truly clear of every other field this week. But tonight, I'm your host, Alex McKellar, and joining me once again is the chaotic one himself, Mr. Corey Steinhauser. Corey, another big night of Skippy racing ahead of us.
Indeed, it is, Alex, and another very difficult track on the schedule. This is the second Roval that we've had this season. Hard to pass and hard to navigate certain areas like that long sweeping pit lane exit of turn one coming into this tight infield section. It's definitely going to provide a little bit of a challenge for our drivers here tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. New face on the Sunday Night Lights scene. The one-plated car here tonight, Diogo Francisco from Iberian Club. He is a very quick driver from what I have seen. Just a tick under 7,000 on the I rating doesn't hurt either. Suggests he is one to watch tonight. Both our red face racing boys are back as we see our Corley trying to warm up the tyres and making a bit of a mistake there. Gets back on his way around for his lap as the all-important tyre warming activities begins. Quite a short lap here in terms of the infield where you can warm the tyres before you got to get the run up, as we see what Gourlay is doing right now, Corey, as he comes around to start his first flying lap.
Yeah, but indeed, Alex, a very limited amount of space, and you've also got to be careful of this oval 3 and 4 configuration coming onto the main straight. If you haven't quite warmed your tyres up properly, that place becomes very slippery. As I'm actually looking at young Mitchy McLeod, who's just started his lap going through turn one. You're on the absolute edge of adhesion there for the tyres, and sometimes it can be very difficult to stop that rear end from coming around. But we've also got Tim Gorcrotcher in the race as the 5-plated car here tonight. I think he's coming around to finish his first lap. And he's gone to the top at the moment, Alex, with a 106.463. So not a bad time there from Tim Gorcrotcher so far.
Yeah, I think that's his second because the tone of the engine or the note of the engine suggests that although he's going pretty quick still, I have to say, as he approaches the left-hand kink, very challenging section of the track as he approaches the double right-hander at the mid stages of the infield section. Sweeping double right-hander, second gear, third gear by the end of it, looking up into fourth on the approach to the return on to the oval section of this racetrack. Hard braking zone as you turn left to rejoin the oval, right up against the wall, carrying as much speed as you can. Francisco now jumping to the top of the pops for provisional pole, at least with a 106.2. Corey, that is lightning fast around here. Plenty of folks not getting into the 105s in the race, let alone nearly nudging it in quali, mate.
Yeah, no, that is absolutely blistering pace. I don't think anyone in here is going to be able to match it. It looks like Tim Gorcrotcher has come close, being just 0.062 of a second off him there. But we've still got a couple of people on track. I'm not sure if they're just doing laps for the sake of laps or whether they're still going on their qualifying efforts. But indeed, that is a very stout lap by Diogo there, Alex.
Absolutely. We see Witten coming across the line now with a 6.7, only managing P8 here provisionally at least. So there's still 3 minutes left. So Luke, as he sweeps around 1 and 2 now into the infield section, he may be still running hot laps here. He might still be hopeful of getting a late second lap in. There's only a couple left out on track. There's Witten, Gourlay, Russell Clark, Team Milo's Russell Clark back in the top split once again this week. Car number 18 in a field of 18. So he's just snuck in. 27.80 bought you a ticket here in terms of I rating into this grid. And Clark showing he's still got some pace. He's up 4 spots ahead of that at the moment. And I'm not touching that last name on that leaderboard, mate, until it comes time and I figure out how to do it. But Clark, Witten, the two Milo boys in the field tonight. Beatty, their teammate as well. Ben Furhoff, currently sitting in provisionally in P7. He's done his laps. He is sitting. He's the other team Milo driver in here, sitting in P7. Just the 2 minutes to go now. It does look like Witten is just running some cool down laps because he hasn't set any more times. Aurelian Fargo is what how I'm gonna say that. Fargo. He's just sitting there not doing much, not having set a time. Perhaps he's got some technical difficulties. But let us, while we wait now for the clock to tick down, we've got a big field, so let's go through our grid tonight. Sun and Not Lights, as we said, from Phoenix International Raceway. Top of the pops, car plate number 1. On pole tonight, Diogo Francisco from Iberia. Debut in Sun and Not Lights. Not a bad way to kick it off either. P2 tonight went to Top Split Racing's Tim Gorcrocher. Great to see him back on track. P3, Sammy Toykala, previous season's winner, representing Team Milo. P4 tonight went to Sasha Gourlay for Redface Racing Team. Lee Anderson from UKNI sitting in P5. He's got some pace around here, that's for sure. Great to see him up in the top 5 to begin the race. P6, Julian O'Fray, the other Redface Racing boy, not quite as high as he would have expected, but he's one to watch. Ben Furhoff for Team Milo sitting in P7 tonight. Andreas Iwashenko is how I'm going to try and say that in P8. Sorry, Andreas. I'll hopefully get that better during the night. P9 tonight went to Team Milo's Luke Witten. Look at all those ANZ flags as we progress down the field a bit further. P10 tonight, Mitchell McLeod for Talking. He has also got some pace around here, so keep an eye out for him in the early stages in particular. P11 tonight went to Sam Devantier for 10X Racing. P12 tonight, ANZ's Samuel Collins as we go over the page. P13, Iberian and Piston Sim Racing Team's Jose Soria, perhaps expecting to be a little bit higher up the field himself. P14 to Team Milo's head honcho even, Mr. Russell Clark. P15, Andre Chabanez for, I think that's France. P16, the final Team Milo driver in Mr. Paul Beatty. P17, ANZ's own Kevin Henderson. And P18, without having set a time, is Aurelian Fargo. And our strength of field tonight, as we said, just a tick under the 4,000 mark at 39.97. Well and truly clear of, in fact, about 500 plus clear of any other race so far this week. And the all-important track temp, Corey, is a balmy 26 degrees. How do you see this one playing out tonight?
Well, given my own experience with this track, Alex, I think we're going to be having to look for a little bit of death, both on the first corner and also on the first part of that infield right-hand sweeping corner that I'm going to start affectionately calling the carousel, because what is an American track without a carousel? And yeah, apart from that, it should be some good, hard, clean racing here today.
Yeah, well, that's the plan. Hopefully, we get to see a bit of that here before the night is through. Just waiting for Gourlay now to take the grid. As he does take his spot on the grid, we are about to get away with the flag marshal on his stand. The red light mean rev and the green light means go as the marshal waves his flag vigorously as the cars head down to the famous turn 1-2 here at Phoenix. Death trap for some, others will find it a successful challenge if they can meet it. 2 by 2 they go through this corner, and they got to really, there's some choke points here as they enter the infield section now. Through to the left-hand kink on the run down into the affectionately named carousel now. And again, it's going to tighten up. Ooh, look at it. Oh, we see McLeod into the back of Iwashenko. And it is someone else. One of the... oh, don't tell me. It's Russell Clark out the back. No, it's not. I've got my timings wrong. It was Witten turned around at the back. And he's now in dead last position on his way back out onto the oval section, Corey.
Yeah, that is very unfortunate there for Luke Witten. Caught up in an incident in the pre-race as well. So 2 bad races in a row. That's going to dampen his spirits a little bit. But one brilliant thing about this track, Alex, is that with it being so small and there being so many laps, he's got plenty of time to catch up and maybe try and make a race out of this. But as we go back up to the leaders, we got Francisco in the lead right now, followed by the
Whoa,
five-plated
we got
car.
one round in the back. It looks like, who was that? Anderson lost the rear end of the car. Oh, and it's Furhoff that he's picked up as he's regathered it, and now Anderson with a very wobbly car. Sorry, Corey, has pulled off to the side and hit the eject button.
Yeah, no, that is quite all right, Alex. I actually missed that myself because I was looking at the top guys here. Tim Gorkrocher for AusNZ in second place, followed by Sammy Toykala and Sasha Gole right now. Redface Racing with fourth and fifth respectively at the moment. That's not where we're used to seeing them, Alex. So they got a little bit of a hill to climb here to try and get themselves up towards the front.
Yeah, absolutely. The gaps aren't too big at the moment. They're all sort of sitting. Let's have a look here if I can find it. The top 4 are within a second. It's when he hit O'Fray, as you say, he's about 1.1 second behind. Certainly got pace at most of the tracks. So this is such a unique layout. I'm finding, and certainly in my experience during the week, that doesn't necessarily, not the fastest guy that you typically see has the pace here. It'll be someone potentially unexpected who this track just seems to suit. It is quite a unique layout. You've got the concreted surface, no camber on this infield section, as once again they're heading through the right-handed carousel, the double right-handed carousel here in the mid stages of the infield section here. Very challenging corner, and then it's essentially a straight run down in these cars, flat out section into the braking zone. As I tell you what, Gourlay closing up very closely behind Toykala in P3 and 4 respectively on the approach back on to the oval section, Corey.
Yeah, and that's one of the hardest parts right there, Alex, is that braking zone to come back onto the oval. There is almost nothing in the way of a braking marker there, so these guys are all going to trust each other that they're not going to be going just that little bit too deep, because even just 10 centimeters too deep into that braking zone and you could end up taking out the guy in front of you. As we go back into the first corner of the race right now, these guys struggling but still managing to somehow get around that flat left-hand corner to make their way into the infield. These guys are definitely showing up the pace right now, Alex. We're already down into the low 106s in the timings.
Yeah, Gorkroch at that time running a little bit deep through turn 1, ran a little bit wide, and it's really compressed the two drivers in Toykala and Gourlay behind him. But it has also, with the beautiful drive out of those first two very, very challenging left-hand corners at turns 1 and 2, was Francisco really looking to run away with it now. He's only about half second as they head back onto the oval section now. It's surprising, though, you don't hit 5th gear until you've completed the two very long left-handed corners here on the approach to the final start-finish line. And it's not until you hit 5th gear that you actually get a really good boost here. So only 2/10 gained in that oval section by Gorkroch. As you see Toykala taking the very tight line. That's where the speed through these corners is. And look at that, Gorkroch doing the same and tucked right up behind. He's halved that gap as it was in the last time round. 6/10 as they exited or came into this section after a poor run through turns 1 and 2 last lap. It's now just 3/10 as he closes up once again in the braking zone for the carousel this time round, Corey. Not much margin for error there, mate.
No, exactly not, Alex. And it also goes to show how hard it is to even try and initiate a move around this track. And these guys, there's only certain lines they can take through these corners. And it's very hard to try and exploit any weakness from the car in front of you. But they still got another 15 laps when they get to the start-finish line to try and figure out something and maybe try and initiate a move here on the final lap. But let's go back away from here a little bit, down to our third-plated car, Julian Alfray. He's just in a little bit of no man's land here at the moment, Alex. 3 seconds behind the cars in front of him and 4.5 in front of the cars behind him, who are actually being led by Jose Sawyer at the moment.
Yeah, Sawyer's got a 3/10 of a second lead over McLeod, who I know from first-hand experience got some pace around here. Of course, we know Sawyer has as well. These two, though, languishing in 5th and 6th, 6th and 7th, respectively. And of course, other than Gorkrotcher up in second position at the moment, McLeod leading ANZ driver in the field. In fact, leading the ANZ club in official series points this season overall. So McLeod doing a fantastic job flying the Aussie flag. As we jump back up the front, coming back onto the oval section now, this a leading pack of four who have got a 1.7. I'll tell you what, O'Frea's closed the gap a bit by about the tune of half a second last lap. He was about 2.2 behind. He's now 1.7. Still a big bubble to burst there if he needs to get back, if he plans to get back on at least to these guys as we hop on board now with Mr. Gorkrotch as they come through this very challenging. Oh, there's a lap car coming out. And unfortunately, the line there through turn 1 also overlaps the exit of the pits there. And it was Fargo, I think, coming out of the pits there. Or was it Iwashenko, potentially? I missed the number of the car, but doing a good job holding the inside there. But, of course, that's where, as we see Gorkrotcher nearly attempt to drive the lead car himself by the looks. That's how close he came under braking there, Corey.
Yeah, I was saying that Gorkrotcher very aggressive into that right-hander that initiates the carousel, and I can confirm it was Fargo that was on his way out of the pits. Also, I'm not sure if you noticed, Alex, but there was a change for third place. That's why Alfred closed the gap up a little bit. Sasha Gourlay on the previous lap came up on the inside of Toy Carla on the transition back to the oval, as we see them going through the oval 3 and 4 right now. Things are starting to heat up a little bit here. We're not even halfway in the race, Alex, so things are going to start getting very interesting very shortly if they keep driving like this.
Oh, I'll tell you what, you see those beautiful lines through turn 1 there. The apex of the corners are a 3 foot, 4 foot wall, and these guys really hugging it to the point of being dangerous as they go through the first of 2 left-hand kinks on the approach to the carousel. Very wide entry there. Can ride the inside curve on that left-hander there on the approach now to the double right-hander that we've spoken about so frequently. The lap's flying by here. In the mid-stages is lap 8 of 20 here tonight. It is a short lap. You're talking a 1 minute 5 to 1 minute 6 lap around here. As again, Gourlay is right up under the tailpipe in the braking zone. Very hard braking zone there as you re-enter the oval section, and it is a passing opportunity, but it's a risk-reward thing here because you can see the gap that Gourlay has had to bridge. They haven't been that close since he made the move on Toy Carla, coming through that very corner now as they head through the double left-hander 1 and 2 on the start of lap 9 now. Again, nearly kissing that apex wall there, although that's the exit of the pits, of course. It's a pit wall. And again, through this left-hander, nice and tightly they go, although it looked like Gourlay really had the run through there that time, Corey.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether maybe Gorkrotcher got a little bit loose or a little bit tight coming off the corner, but he definitely lost a lot of ground there coming through that first part of the infield section. Gourlay now absolutely hounding his gearbox, trying to look for a way around. We might see a move coming up here back to the oval transition. Gourlay is close, but it's yet to see whether he's going to be close enough for the move. It doesn't look like he's going to this time. So these guys are definitely starting to play a little bit of hardball, Alex, and we might even see some people running a little bit wide in the oval turn 3 to maybe get a slingshot through turn 4 and onto the front straight.
Yeah, we're on board with Gourlay now. We've got a prime position viewing vantage point, at least, for the start of lap 10 as they cross the line this time round. You get a close look at what it's like. It's very sketchy through here. No camber. Look at the tight line of the 2 lead cars. Then you got to get the car to rotate, which is not hard to do because, as I said, it's flat, it's concrete, there's no camber there, so the car just wants to let go at any time. Nearly kissed the wall on the apex of that left-hander. Ride the bump here, very bumpy there, but it cuts the corner in 2, gets that extra bit of speed now as we see once again it's Gourlay. He is just 2/10 behind this time. The move could be on. Let's see what he does on the run into. No, just nice and deep under brakes. And that is again holding station there. But as we jump back a little bit now, we'll go on board. We'll just hop on with Samuel Collins. We see Sam Devantier making that move that we've just been talking about. Coming up the inside there of Collins by the looks, and they're pretty tight. They're less than a tenth between them. The 9-plated Sam Devantier against the 10-plated Samuel Collins. It's about what you'd expect fighting for 8th and 9th position based on the seedings, but they're going to go side by side, and it looks like Collins is going to relinquish that position for showing a bit of discretion there on the way through the opening couple of corners on the start of lap 11 there, Corey.
And that is some pretty smart driving there by Samuel Collins to just back out of it before turn 1. Later in the race, we might see them going too wide going into the corner, which makes things very difficult, especially with it having no camber on it whatsoever. But we might even see the fabled 3 wide into turn 1, which we know NASCAR fans absolutely love, especially around tight little tracks like this. But probably not the best situation for us to put our skippies in, although it'd definitely still be entertaining nonetheless. Jumping back up with the front guys now. It looks like Gorkrocher has closed the gap in on Diogo a little bit here, Alex. So we could maybe see a move on for P1 here very shortly.
Oh, yeah, he's challenging. Yeah, he's challenging now into turn 1, as you say, Corey. Can go 2x2 through here, but that's going to open the door for Gourlay up the inside. Gourlay's going to take that position from Gorkrocher. Is he? Is he? Yes, he is. I'll tell you what, Corey, he's turned attack, unfortunately, into defence, because it's now Gourlay who's going to have a crack at the leader in Diogo Francisco, Corey.
Yeah, exactly, Alex. And this is what I was saying. Going 2x2 in there is probably not the best decision to make, because if you're the car on the outside, but there being no camber whatsoever, you're going to be at a big loss, even though you do have the possibility of just holding a little bit of extra speed, as we saw there, Gorkrocher losing out to Gourlay. But these guys, as we see Diogo getting very close to that exit wall coming back onto the oval, they're fighting pretty hard right now. And I think if anyone's going to have a chance of getting around Diogo, it's going to be Sasha here at the moment, Alex, because he just seems to have the right amount of patience and attack in the right spots to gain the position needed.
Well, Francisco once again taking the defensive line. Oh, I tell you what, Gourlay right up into the tailpipe there, into the lifting zone or the braking zone of turn 1 there. It's really hard to get it done around the outside. You want to go 2x2 to put pressure on, but the defensive line there through the inside is the only thing you really got to do at that point, unless the person gets a run on you through this double right-hander here and into the braking zone to come back onto the oval section. But line astern, I mean, strategically, there's not much you can do. There's only a couple of places that you need to defend here at this track, and it's right here as you come back onto the oval. It's into turn 1. So the smart driver can really lead from the front, as they say, and really the smart driver, once he's made the move to get to the front, he hasn't got much to do other than drive quick and keep his nose clean.
Well, as I was alluding to before, Alex, I think the smart play here for Gourlay and Gorkrocher is we see Gourlay again trying to attack the outside, and it looks like he's actually got more of an overlap this time on Diogo, so there could be a chance for a change for the lead. Diogo very strong on that inside line, though. Gorkrocher not able to take advantage. But I think the smart play here would be for Gourlay, Gorkrocher, and Toykala to take the high line going into turn 3 and work as a unit to try and draft their way up to Diogo on the front straight, because you can carry so much more speed if you go to the outside and cut in on the exit of the oval turn 4, which will again raise the speed that they carry into turn 1. So I see that being a viable move if they could work together, but I'm not sure whether we would end up seeing that happening here, Alex.
Yeah, hard to say at this stage of the race, Corey, whether they would do it. But I tell you, it was interesting there because Gourlay did the same thing to try and attack that Gorkrocher did. Gorkrocher just not able to take advantage of the space that was made on the inside. He tried, but just ran a little bit wide. Oh, Diogo leaves out. Francisco, I should say, leaves the door open slightly. But Gourlay not having the pace to carry through there to get it done. Now, at this stage of the race, we've got 6 laps to go, or the remainder, or the balance of 6 laps now as they head down through the midway stages of the infield, through the bump at the kink there on the way into the carousel. These guys line astern once again. the pace is on. I mean, we're in the fives consistently here with these guys. Many of the drivers here this week. I mean, we saw 6 splits here tonight. Over 100 drivers signed up for this race. Not many of them will get into the fives, but these guys just crushing it, showing great pace around here. But also how challenging it is to get a move done, Corey.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Alex. And as I was saying before, I think Gourlay's got the best chance of maybe getting the win here. But that defense that Francisco is putting up is absolutely rock solid right now. You can see he's got actually a little bit of a gap to second and third now. Gourlay going a little bit defensive on Gorecrotcher. They're coming out of the final corner. They go back to line to stern, coming into turn one. So if I was a betting man, I would say that Gourlay would be my dark horse for a win. But it's going to be so hard to rock Francisco from that lead, Alex.
Absolutely. As we jump back to see Devantia and Collins, let's revisit that battle. We see the rear of Devantia's car step out. We've got Clark sitting on behind here, the 18-plated car sitting in the top 10 in 10th here, and he's got behind him, he's got Chabannet and Witten, his Team Milo teammate, trying to get back and make this a 5-way battle for the top 10 positions. And dropping off the back of Witten there is the final Team Milo racer in Paul Beatty, who's sitting there in P13 tonight, just outside the points. You got Henderson in 14th and Iwashenko in 15th, and Fargo just the 1 lap down is all the way down in P17 as we jump back up the front at stations as per previously visited with Francisco. Oh, Gourlay, he's run so deep there. Opened up the apex at turn 2. Oh, as Gorecrotcher grabs a bit of curbing there, runs himself a bit wide and has the potential. No, I thought he might come under threat from either dropping off or from the hard charging Tuakala in the background, but closes up under brakes there into the carousel, Corey, and stations return to normal viewing.
Yeah, that's right, Alex. It was actually a little bit of a heart-stopping moment there, seeing Sasha going that deep into that braking zone for what I guess would be turn 2. Any one little mistake like that could end disaster for both himself and Diogo, and even Timmy G, maybe even Sasha, if they were close enough. Because one small disaster when you're this tight in the pack, it can end up just being dominoes, and you could all end up falling off the perch. There's actually Toykala there, dropping off the back of these leading 3 right now, as we see Francisco going very defensive again. Gourlay flying around the outside. This is the closest he's been to getting the overtake so far, Alex. He very almost was able to hold on to the momentum and stay there with the overlap. Unable to do it at the moment. Timmy G almost getting another overtake made on Gourlay himself. But it looks like things are just starting to calm down a little bit again as they're going through the infield section here. But I think if there's going to be a move, it's going to be in those first sections of corners here, Alex, because that's where these guys seem to be the most racy at the moment.
Yeah, so hard in these conditions, or this track at least, to get a move done. You can see the drivers searching for grip that just isn't there. The oval section is the only place with any sort of camber to help them get around, and even then, because of the nature of the aero package on the Skippy this season with the tyre model, the rear of the car still wants to let go through these high-speed corners, even though there's a whisper of camber, if you will. But then you come off the oval section, as they do now, for the penultimate time with just the 2 laps remaining, and you see the rear of the car. I was talking about it earlier. You don't need help with rotation. If anything, it's help with avoiding over rotation. And it looks like Francisco now really he's dominated this race from start till this nearly finished point of the race, and really the other guys are almost tripping over themselves trying to get anywhere near him, Corey.
Yeah, well, that's one of the extreme challenges of this track, Alex. Like, even in racing it as an oval, it is very slick kind of a track surface that they've got here for this track. This track surface is actually a fairly old track surface. They do have an updated Phoenix oval, but that one doesn't include a roval configuration. That one's just oval. So that goes to show how old this track surface actually is, both on the oval and in the infield itself, as we start going on to the last lap now. It's the last chance for these guys to try and get a win, or where the failure of not being able to get it. These guys are a little bit strung out here at the moment, Alex. It doesn't look like they're going to be having very much of an opportunity to get around. We might see a move coming into that final transition back onto the oval from Sasha, because I know when it comes to this stage of the race, Sasha usually goes for that big ballsy move to try and get the win.
Oh, mate, I can see this one going not with a bang but a whimper, as they say, because that final run through turn 1 and 2 was a complete non-event as I come into the final overtaking zone here. The threshold braking entry back onto the oval section here, and the draft's just not enough to get it done. I'm going to call it early. I'm going to say Francesco's got it done, although just the 3/10 you got Gourlay right on his hammer, but I just don't see him getting it done here. This track is just not enough draft to get past here, although he's tucked right in. Francisco will hold the inside line here. It'll be half a car length on the line, but it's Francisco making his pole. Oh, it's Toy Carla now. Looks to make some friends after the race. Francisco, flag to flag victory. He's come out, taken the pole, taken the victory in his debut. It was a hard battle behind him for Gourlay, Gorkrotcher and Toy Carla, but there's just nothing they could do at this track, Corey. There's so few opportunities without the lead driver making a mistake. They certainly threw everything bar the kitchen sink at him, but all for naught, as they say, Corey.
Yeah, that's right, Alex. But I think one of the biggest stories out of this is that the Red Face Racing Team was not the dominant force in this race. Al Frey dwindled down there in fifth, just never really looking like he had the pace to try and catch up. And even though he was pulling away from the rest of the pack, he just wasn't there at the end to close the gap and maybe rake a run of it himself, using the same tactics that Red Face Racing always do to win their races. So it was a bit of a weird race for Red Face Racing. One on the podium, one languishing down in fifth. But no doubt they'll come back next week at Oran Park and bounce back bigger and better than ever.
Yeah, absolutely. You see our Frey pulling into the pits. Yeah, it was that early lose of the rear for Anderson in the early stages. I think that sort of busted up that front pack and left the front four to run away. But yeah, look, it's the nature of the racing here. It's line of cern stuff. Once the tyres warm up, you've just got to keep your mind a bit focused and hold those tight lines through the key points on the track as necessary. I mean, we didn't even have to see any defence into the braking zone coming back onto the oval tonight. I mean, there was a couple of moves made there, but that was about it. But all for naught. Let's go and not for nothing, I should say. Let's go check our results for tonight. For Sunday Night Lights, round 7, Phoenix International Raceway, we had debutant Diogo Francisco from Iberia taking it out. He took the pole. He took the victory. He drove remarkably well, setting good pace and showed good defence and a cool head under pressure. P2 tonight went to Red Face Racing, Sasha Gourlay firming up his chances at the overall season and the Sunday Night Lights seasons, of course. P3 went to Top Split Racing's Tim Gorkrotcher. Great result for Tim, given the events of the past few weeks, particularly that tragic ending to his night of racing at Road Atlanta last week. P4 tonight went to Team Milo's Sammy Toykala. A quiet race for him, really, just biding his time in the rear for an opportunity to present one that never came. Julian O'Fray, some 4 seconds off the lead. An unusual position for the Red Face Racing team driver in P5. P6 went to Pistons Sim Racing team's Jose Sawyer from Iberia, of course. P7, the second ANZ driver after Mr. Gorkrotcher was Mitchell McLeod for talkinc.com.au, continuing his good run in the Sunday Night Lights events. P8 tonight went to the Cowboy, Sam Devantia for 10X Racing. P9, Samuel Collins. P10 tonight, ANZ's Russell Clark, also representing Team Milo, just ahead of his teammate, his Team Milo teammate, Mr. Paul Beatty. And P12 tonight, the final of the Sunday Night Lights point scoring positions went to ANZ's Kevin Henderson. Great to see some ANZ flags up there on the front page. Rolling over to the second page, we had Arnaud Chabanet in P13. P14 tonight went to ANZ's Luke Witten representing Team Milo. Andreas Iwashenko in P15 tonight. Aurelian Fargo in P16. Lee Anderson, after that early incident, finishing all the way down in P17, having retired. And caught up in that incident with him was Team Milo's Ben Furhoff, who finished after his retirement all the way down in P18 tonight. Strength of field, as we said, 39.97, and the fastest lap, draft assisted, no doubt, because he wasn't in the lead, was Mr. Sasha Gourlay with a 105.3. Pretty quick time around here, Corey, and the guys were pretty consistent with their lap times as well.
Yeah, I don't think the after the tires got warmed up, I don't think the front four got out of the 105s pretty much for the majority of the race. Absolutely on point the entire time, and great racing throughout the entire field with only a couple of retirements there. But it was excellent to see some good, hard, clean racing. Might have been a little bit boring with not much passing going on, but there must have been so much strategy going through the heads of those drivers in the top four, trying to figure out where should I defend, where should I attack. And I think that's pretty entertaining to me, just thinking about the strategy that was going through their heads.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Certainly something to think about. Keep the helmet, the matter, grey matter between the ears busy. Is just how am I going to get the pass done here? But certainly there are only a couple, and we struggle to find them here tonight. A lot of nose to tail stuff, which this track seems to have bred this week. But got a couple of folks in the green room, mate. I might get you to have a chat to them. We'll bring them up. I'll bring them up in finishing order, starting with one T Gorcrotcher.
Jimmy Goldcrotcher, welcome up to the broadcast booth, man. How you doing?
Hey Corey, thanks for having me, mate. Nice to be back on a step of the podium.
Yeah,
Today went pretty well. I was happy with it all. It was good.
yeah, man. We saw you right up there in P2, challenging for the lead with Francisco. You went around the outside of him, made that small mistake of not being able to close the gap. Were you? What was the thought process after you made that one little mistake and let Sasha go through? And where were you looking at trying to get him back?
Well, the one thing I worry about was how hard you can um, enter turn one with a car on the inside. So I didn't. I guess I should have gone full send and not half send. So I think if I could have, or if I threw it in a bit harder, I would have carried some more momentum, because obviously when there's a car on the inside, they generally back off a bit. And I think I could have probably got them around the outside, but like I said, I didn't do it, didn't execute well enough. So and then it was just a matter of trying to hang on to onto Sasha and Diogo, and it's such a hard track to pass on. So really waiting for the right time to come, and in the end, it didn't. So that is what it is. Well done to Diogo. He's ridiculously quick, like next level. So really good to have him race too, and obviously he'd seen where the softs come from at the moment, and wanted to get involved, which is fantastic. So
Now, me and Alex, just before we brought you up for an interview, we touched very briefly on the strategy that goes through when trying to make an overtake on such a hard to pass track. What was the thought process when you were trying to get the overtake on Diego and then having to defend straight away against Sasha?
oh well, like as I said, I thought I could get around the outside, but the challenging thing was always going to be, as soon as I knew Diogo had like that he was clear of me, getting the front end of the car pushed back into the apex without having the rear end let go. So, it's a bit of a juggling act, and at the end of the day, like I said, I didn't execute quite well enough. But if I did manage to get by, no doubt he'd be on my ass the next few laps, and putting the right pressure on in the right places. So, but like, he's a class act, really, really good driver, and hard to hang on to when it was cold or when the tires were cold. And as I said, really good to have him join us tonight.
Alrighty, mate. Well, thank you very much for coming out and supporting us here at SNL again. Anyone you'd like to give a quick shout out to before we put you back in the green?
Yeah, I just wanted to say thanks to everyone who should have come but didn't. Tim Hendrickson. Who else? Hawkon, where were you tonight? Ben Snell. Come on. No, I know Ben's got an excuse, but a number of good drivers missed out on some good racing. So hope to see them back next week.
All right. Well, thank you very much, man. Congratulations again on P3, and we look forward to seeing you again next week at Oran Park.
Yeah, no, I look forward to it. Should be fun. Again, perhaps slightly less challenging to pass, but plenty of good racing to be had.
All righty. Thank you very much, man. Catch you next time.
Thanks, guys. Good on you.
All righty, Alex. That was Timmy G, Tim Gorecrotcher. Nice hard fought third place for him there. And as just touched briefly on that little bit of strategy, he thought he could go around the outside, but didn't go full send.
Nah, that's it. It's an interesting strategy. You got to do something to try and make it happen, but it's give and take. You got to give a little, get a little, and unfortunately, open the door and cost him not only the one position in the end, but and sometimes you got to go and have a bit of fun too. But look, we've got a couple of people in the green. We've got a couple of new ones here for us tonight. I'm going to bring up and have a chat to Mr. Francisco, Diogo Francisco, joining us for the first time. And I'm apologies if I'm getting your name wrong there, Diogo. But look, I'm glad you found us here. It looks like you had a bit of fun out there tonight.
Hey, Alex. Yeah, you're sounding just fine spelling my name. Yeah, a little bit of that Australian accent, but it's fine. But yeah, the racing was it was way more pressuring than it probably seemed on the broadcast. I'm not sure how it looked, but it was. I had to stay on my toes to get them clear. Always keeping that inside closed and just trying to avoid any spontaneous dives.
Yeah, mate, it looked like there was a bit of action behind you there. We were talking to Tim Gorecrotcher before, and I don't know about you and how you found the strategy here this week, but he was looking to go 2x2 through that first corner, which we know you can do, but then, great move from Gourlay up the inside. And there's a risk versus reward there, and it didn't look to go his way, but certainly would have looked interesting in your mirrors there at one point.
Yeah, I mean, once you are in the front, you really need to control where you place the car. That's the most important thing. So yeah, I was always looking in my mirrors into turn one to see if someone was gonna go on the inside. Actually, there's a lap. I think it's one of the earlier laps where I see that Tim almost got the inside of me there because I slid a little bit wide. And from then on, I knew I couldn't make that mistake again, or someone would capitalize on it. So yeah, I just tried to just keep on the inside every single time, and I managed to do it until the end of the race.
Yeah, well, great result, mate. And look, your first outing here with us on a Sunday night. Well, I suppose it's a Sunday, probably lunchtime for you. But look, it's great to see you here. Hopefully, now that you've found us, we'll see a bit more of you here because the racing's been great. And all the better for having you here tonight, mate. So thank you for joining us here. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to before we let you go?
Yeah, I'll definitely come by because this is a great time for me. It's Sunday morning here, so yeah, perfect for me. And yeah, shout out to my team, TT Racing. They're not here because well, most of them are American, which isn't really doable for them. But yeah, shout out to them. Hopefully, someone will see this and be randomly surprised that I'm here, shout outing them. And shout out to you for organizing this. I had never raced here before, as you said, and it's great to see all these really good names around. So yeah, shout out to everyone that showed up. Shout out to you, and yeah, that's it.
Awesome. Well, thanks very much, Diogo. We look forward to hopefully seeing you again in the coming weeks, and all the best for your racing in the coming week as well.
Yeah, thanks. Likewise.
There you go, Corey, one of the best in the business, Mr. Diogo Francisco. Great to see him here on a Sunday night and adding to the mix, both in terms of the international flavour, but certainly for the action up the front of the pack.
And he sounds like a very humble, genuine person there. I was just listening to the interview that you guys were just having, and he just has this presence about him when he was talking to you just now. That was just, you got to respect the bloke. I mean, he qualified first, he got the win, but even just the way that he presents himself in that interview there was, it was very similar to his skill on the racetrack, Alex. It was just, it was really nice to hear.
Yeah, that's it. And a few more points and I rating in the bucket for him there. He's on his way to 7K, that's for sure, and certainly showed every bit of class that a 7K driver you would expect to see, or at least to see from Now, moving on to our next podium. So, Francisco, of course, in first. Next will be another debutant in the box or the commentary booth, at least. Mr. Sasha Gourlay, Redface Racing's own. He's been dominating the season here with his teammate. And tonight, finishing on the second step of the podium, joining us for the first time in the booth. Mr. Gourlay, how was the racing out there for you?
Hello, guys. Firstly, sorry for my approximative English. I'll try to do my best. The race today was really fun, but Diogo was really fast. I think really faster than everybody else here. So it was hard to attack him. I tried 2 or 3 times by on the outside of turn one, but it's hard to overtake there, and he was really well protecting the inside. So congratulations to him. It was a nice race.
Yeah, mate. Well, look, it looked like the key moment, we've been talking about it a bit tonight, was the move that Gorkrocha tried around the outside when Francisco defended through turn one, and he just opened the door for you to skim right up the inside there. Was that music to your ears or pleasure to your eyes, at least, when the door was open like that?
Yes, when I saw that they were going to take the turn one side by side, I immediately thought that it was the best opportunity I could have to overtake Tim. So I went directly on the inside and followed Diogo as close as I could, and it works. And I could overtake Tim, who gave me enough space and was really fair. So yeah, it was fun and nice.
Yeah, well, you got two big moves done, of course. One into the braking zone on the approach to the oval section on Toyakala, and then again through turn one there. So two of the best, or the only of the best moves of the night, mate. So congratulations on that, and congratulations on your season as a whole. It's been building actually for a couple of seasons now between you and your teammate and Julian O'Fray. But this season, I've seen you up the front, of course, here of our races. You guys are running the official season championship and right up the pointy end when it comes to the 2K Cup as well. It must be a good feeling amongst the team this season.
Yes, sure. I try to improve a little bit every time. So I think the key to do well in the championship is really to avoid incidents, trying to finish all the races without crashing. So sometimes I can't, but I try to be as clean as I can. Because in most races we have a lot of overtake opportunities. So I try to be patient and wait for the good moment. It looks like it works pretty well. So yes, I need a little bit of luck too in those races with a lot of fast drivers. And yes, to have a teammate is helpful too, because we can drive together and use each other to protect a position or to have draft and be faster. So yeah, Julian has a very good season too, and it's nice to be together at these positions.
Yeah, that's excellent, mate. Well, you guys are playing your cards very well this season, working together when it's needed, and the results are certainly coming your way. And certainly, as is the consistency, the pace, the consistency, and the cool heads under pressure certainly paying off for you guys this season in particular. So, congratulations on your results here tonight for the season overall, and hopefully they'll continue to flow for you and the Redface Racing team along with Julian O'Fray. So. Thank you for joining us here tonight, Sasha. If there's anyone you'd like to give a shout out to tonight before we let you go.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, firstly, to you guys for the broadcast, which is really nice every week. So thank you to you and Corey, and for Julian for the nice training we have together and the nice races.
Excellent. All right, Sasha. Well, thanks for joining us here tonight. Great to hear from you in the flesh, so to speak, and we look forward to seeing you on track again in the coming weeks.
Yeah, sure. I'll be there. No problem. Thank you, guys.
There you go, Corey. first time, long time racer, first time caller, Mr. Sasha Corley for Red Face Racing Team. Great to see and hear from Sasha here tonight. He's sort of jabbed and crossed with us a little bit in the past, threatened to come into the booth. Great to have him in here for the first time tonight.
Yeah, I'm not sure why he never came in before. Because I'm so glad that we can finally put a voice to the name and to the car. Um, but as we heard him say there, him and Alfred do play the protection game quite a bit when they're out the front leading, which is what I always suspected they did, playing their team card there. So I'm glad that I can finally get the confirmation on that, so I don't just seem like a crazy lunatic spitting out conspiracy theories. But excellent run here for Sasha, and as you said to him in the interview, the only two decent overtakes of the entire race, and both of them belong to Sasha, which was amazing to see him get done.
Yeah, well, I would look. You're right. He got the two, probably the two best ones or the most important ones, given his position in the field. But let's not forget Mr. Devantier's move on Mr. Collins there in the similar position as what Gourlay did to Toy Carla, just at a different point in the field. So, look, there were few and far between when it came to overtakes here tonight. But those guys certainly got a couple done. Now, I'll bring up Mr. Beatty for our final interview if you wanted to run him through and see how his race went here tonight.
Paul Beatty, welcome up to the booth, man.
G'day.
We see you were down the field a little bit here, but you still managed to hold on to P11, get yourself some SNL points. How was the race for you on what was a very hard to overtake track?
It was quite nice and boring actually. I wasn't expecting much, so I'm pretty happy with picking up a few freebies in that one. That was
So, by the sounds of it, you were playing just the drive to survive game, which at a track like this, especially in the early laps, is a strategy that seems to work quite a bit. I did that one earlier on in the week and got third in the second split race.
yeah. I as soon as I lost the draft of a couple of guys in front of me, we hit a bit of traffic, and I thought, well, I'm not going to catch those people up, so I just took it nice and steady, try not to make too many big mistakes, and there we go. That will do. But I don't like this track. I'm looking forward to Oran Park next.
All right, so looking forward to Oran Park next week. Home track for us Aussies. A track that's no longer around anymore. What's the feeling besides just being excited for it? Heading into what is just a track that's just a small, but maybe even more so technical wise.
Well, I think you said it there because it is a little bit more technical. You do get opportunity, maybe not so much in the top split that we did tonight, but generally in races you do get opportunities. People don't get their lines right. It's quite tricky, very technical. So even though it's not really, I guess, a huge passing circuit, you can create your own way forward sometimes.
All righty, man. Well, while we got you up in the booth real quick, anyone you want to give a quick shout out to?
You guys and FNRC lot and Team Milo. Sorry we didn't get the top four lockout for Milo, but we tried.
All right, mate. Well, congratulations on P11,
Thanks, man.
managing to get yourself some points. Look forward to seeing you again next week at Oran.
Cheers, Gary. See ya.
There you go, Alex. A happy Paul is always a good Paul to have in for a chat. Just playing the survival game, which is not a bad strategy, considering he did lose the draft pretty early there.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, sometimes the quiet races are the best ones if you can secure yourself a decent result. So sounds like that's what Mr. Beatty did here tonight, and certainly seeing some of the racing that's gone on here this week and the challenge that the corners have presented in some cases. It's probably not a bad way to go sometimes as well, but. Anyway, that's this one in the books, folks. Next week, as we've alluded to a couple of times, we'll be at Oran Park, which is, a long gone track now in Australian motorsport history, but it is one that we review and we get to live with fond memories in the flesh, so to speak, or at least in person, next week in the Skip Barber category. So, Corey, tell the folks in the meantime what you'll be up to.
Well, this week over at the Aussie Sim Commentator Twitch channel, we've got round number 11 of the Output Racing League from the Kentucky Speedway. As per usual, over on my channel, we will have the Friday Night Race Club shenanigans, but nothing for me on Saturday, as I'll be at Speedway again for the second week running. So make sure you go and check out facebook.com/speedwaying69 for all the goings on from the Perth Motorplex for next Saturday.
Sounds good, Corey. Very good, and bringing a bit of local speedway action to the airwaves is never a bad thing. But of course, folks, you can join us at all things Top Split at the locations on your screen at the moment. This race broadcast will be uploaded, the replay at least, on the Top Split YouTube channel. Join us for interviews in the Discord, linked on your screen at the moment. And the Top Split podcast is up, episode 26, where Ben Snell and I talk through some of his drifting and all things Skippy and iRacing in general. There is also a video version of the podcast up on the YouTube channel as well. I will be doing my racing on this channel during the week as we head to Oran Park, as we said, and also back here, same bat time, bat channel, next week for edition 8 or episode 8 of season 18 of the Sunday Night Lights. But until then, make sure you thumbs up, like, subscribe, all those things in all those different places to help us, help you in promoting this this sim sport that we all, or this esport that we all enjoy so much. But until we're back here next week, folks, I've been your host, Alex McKellar, and on behalf of my co-commentator here, Mr. Corey Steinhauser, thank you for joining us once again, and until next time, ciao for now.